So, Dark Souls 3 came out recently, and I personally think it's a masterpiece. Almost. Well, Talal, why is it so good, and what would stop it from being a masterpiece? Those are some good questions, little girl. You see, Dark Souls 3 has a lot of awesome features, like Battle Arts, Ashen Estus Flasks, passwords for co-op, and the most interesting of all is easily the Lord of Cinder mode. For the uneducated, the Lord of Cinder mode is basically the replacement of humanity from Dark Souls 1 and human effigy from Dark Souls 2, but it's a little different. Unlike the first game, where humanity's biggest benefits was the ability to summon and have invasion, and the second games where humanity's greatest advantage was summoning and HP recovery, Dark Souls 3's Lord of Cinder mode had everything Dark Souls 1 had, accompanying a HP boost of 140% of the original value, as well as a cool Ember effect. Anyways, we need to separate the game into different sections and judge them as they are.
Combat!
In Dark Souls 1, the combat was simple and interesting. It felt good when you pulled off a perfectly timed parry or rolled out of the way of an attack that would have killed you, only to be killed by the next attack you didn't know existed. Dark Souls 2, however, didn't quite take it the right way. While they seemed to try and bump up the enemy speeds and added the new power stance mechanic, it basically made parrying unviable. It was slow and not in a good way. When the game's supposed to be a bit fast-paced, making the player slow is the ultimate transgression. So basically in Dark Souls 1, you were slowish, but so was everything else. So dying was always because you lacked skill, didn't know the enemy moveset enough, or because you fell for an item gank, or you listened to patches.
There, that hole. Take a closer look.
Good chunk of Dark Souls 2's deaths were because the avatar was always too slow to deal with the enemies, and that's not fun. Taking a bite out of Bloodborne's combat design, the combat in Dark Souls 3 had definitely taken a step in the right direction. Everything felt so much more smooth and well put out. Sure, the enemies were fast, but so are you, and it makes it your fault when you die, and that's how it should be. Battle Arts felt good to use, and it makes things like bows and fist weapons so much more viable in PvE. Another thing to note is that visceral attacks from Bloodborne are actually possible in Dark Souls 3. Tutorial! So this is probably my favorite part of the video. Here we go. So with every Dark Souls game, you start off somewhere, acquire your class, and then learn how to control your character. The game gives you messages on the ground for that stuff, and it lays it out in a way that you should learn everything in a specific order. In Dark Souls 1, it was basically a straight line from your soul to the bonfire to the boss room, then from the boss room up some stairs, and then back to the boss room. You do tend to kill a few enemies on the way as you perceive them as threats. Dark Souls 2 had this weird branching system that you could completely skip, and it definitely affected some new players negatively. The game tried to revamp the tutorial, making it new and improved, but failed by not only making it optional, but long and tedious. Dark Souls 3 perfected that shit. After selecting your character, you rise up from your graves and begin your march forwards. The path is clearly circumscribed by the orange notes left on the floor for you. The notes give you the controls when they would seem appropriate, and then tests you based on what you've just learned. A little further in, it warns you about the crystal lizard, and thus showing that sometimes straying from the main path can be dangerous, but also rewarding. Running to your first bonfire teaches you about its healing effects and refills your Estus. Now, the boss is what makes this truly amazing. Urex Gundyr, or the Judge of Battle/War, is the first boss of Dark Souls 3. While he may not be a challenge, his existence is a vital part of the game, and a very efficacious one, I might add. By placing him there, he serves to fulfill his duty to be a test for the Ashen One, to prove they have what it takes to make it to the end of the game. Not only is this good for lore, it's also a great way for players to see that they've grasped the gameplay mechanics well enough. If they haven't, they'll die. A lot. But it also shows two more things, the importance of dying and the other use of bonfires. By showing the player how important dying is, it gets them in the mood for trial and error, trying different tactics, weapons, magic attacks to overcome the challenge. Eventually, they'll find the right method, or look up a guide, and then they'll win. As for the second lesson, dying shows players not to be afraid to make mistakes sometimes, as they'll respawn at the most recent bonfire, and considering how common bonfires are in the game, it definitely helps to know this one early on. One final detail I forgot to mention is the boss's second stage. By fighting Gundyr, you'll learn that, unlike its predecessors, all the bosses in Dark Souls 3 have two stages, which not only buffs them, but takes away some weaknesses while adding new attacks, and basically that you should be prepared to change your tactics as the boss changes theirs. I feel like this tutorial demonstrates the thrill and excitements that player will find later on in the game. Online mode. There's nothing special about it, really. Not much. Well, Talal, doesn't the multiplayer have anything good in it? Yes, of course it does. Unlike the first game, where invasions were limited to specific covenants, and the second game, which removed some invasion items, like the Red Eye Orb, and tried to make the Brotherhood of Blood arena a big thing, Dark Souls 3 has made invasions so much more viable. How did it do that? Well, first of all, you can switch between covenants in your inventory. Second of all, most covenants that require items to rank up allow you to use the Red Eye Orb to invade people. And basically what that means is you can be invaded by a Sunbro and he can kick your ass. Not only is that really cool, but the invader will be able to acquire the rank up item just by killing the host, or in some instances, other phantoms. Third of all, there are just so many new gestures. I like this one. As for cooperative multiplayer, they've now implemented a new password system that allows you to co-op with anyone who has your password. This straightforward feature allows you to effortlessly play with your friends who are, for example, level 20, while you are level 150 plus. The only drawback is, while you are playing with them, you will be nerfed to be able to play with them properly in order to not be overpowered, as well as having your Estus cut in half. With all of what's been said, you might be asking, well, how is this game not a masterpiece, Talal? There are quite a few factors to be considered. First and foremost, the soundtrack. I don't know, man. The soundtrack just doesn't feel good to listen to. I mean, there are always a few good ones here and there, but it just doesn't feel right. A counter to this would be the Soul of Cinder soundtrack, which I absolutely adore. When I think of a good soundtrack, I remember Darksiders 2, Stardew Valley, Skyrim, and the original Dark Souls. In order to be fair, we'll only be using the original game as the example. Dark Souls soundtrack always met the situation. Were you fighting the Taurus demon? Here's a song for a fast boss. Fighting a sparkly albino ice fairy dragon? Here's a sparkly magic song. Fighting a slow undead god that likes to shove spikes up your butt. Here's a song that slowly increases in pace as the fight goes on. What about the husk of an ancient Sun King? Better give you a sad piano tune. The other issue is difficulty, or lack thereof. Don't get me wrong, Dark Souls 3 isn't a walk in the park, but it just doesn't hold up the mantle of difficulty either. After getting the mechanics down, this game is really not as hard as I'd hoped it would be. Unlike the first game, where fighting a hard boss could take dozens of attempts even with jolly cooperation, this game seems to make bosses in the "will die a handful of times" category. Not only that, but the level design doesn't seem to enforce dying a lot on the way to the boss. Even the swamp was a breeze if you have the quick step battle art. Are these issues capable of making the game suck? No, but they do take away a few points that prevent it from becoming a 10 out of 10. Final verdict? When it comes down to it, Dark Souls 3 is a really good game. I'd honestly recommend it to anyone who's able to afford it. And if they can, they should absolutely get it, even if they suck at video games. So, basically, 9 out of 10.
Goddamn casual!
Hi, I'd like to take a moment to thank you for watching the video. It's the first video of this kind I've ever made. Also, the initial audio was recorded a few months ago, which is why you'll hear an air conditioner going off in the background. I'd like to take a moment to thank my cousin Khalid for helping with the little avatar things. It really helped to get the point across. Considering how it's my birthday, as I'm recording this audio, and how Bioshock Remastered is coming out tomorrow, I should really make a video on that next. But in all honesty, if you liked the video, show some support with a like. If you want to see more, subscribe, and if you have any suggestions or criticism, leave a comment or send me a message on Twitter or something. Bye-bye! Oh yeah, and I totally didn't steal this from Ego Raptor. Nope, not at all.